Welcome to Bid on You, the show for the girlies building the life, love, and career they actually want. So, if you're ready to bet on yourself, don't be silly. Join the community.
Welcome back to Bid on You and happy Women's History Month. Today, we are going to be joined by social media manager and former college track star and my girl, Nicole Eze. And we're going to be talking about breaking into sports, especially as a woman, working with professional athletes, and what it takes to really build a brand beyond just the viral moments and to dominate in a male-dominated space. So if you're just curious, you're looking to break into sports, or you want to know what makes things go viral and last beyond that moment, stick around and make sure you follow us. Subscribe, okay? We don't want you to miss anything else. And let's start the show. Okay, welcome back to Vid on You. We're so excited. Nicole, welcome.
I'm so happy to be here.
Happy Women's Month.
Oh, period. Yeah.
Listen, we're here. We're happy to have you. Today we're talking about, women breaking into sports. So we had to shout out Women's Month. But we're going to dive right into the episode. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you were a college athlete running track. I'm a runner. I'm a track star, right?
Per se.
Allegedly. And now you manage social media for professional athletes. Okay, so what did that pivot actually look like? We're going to dive right into your story, and what were the first, as you know, being a fan of the show, we're very big on practical steps. So what were some of the first practical steps you took to just really build a career post your college career?
Yeah. I feel like this is probably something that most collegiate athletes will deal with, when they're figuring out if they're going to continue doing sports. If they're not, I don't have the luxury of playing a sport that made a lot of money. So if you're running track, you need to be an Olympian, or it's you can be living out your car. So right. I feel like that was a big thing that I was thinking about. But when I ran track, I was fully invested. Freshman, sophomore, junior, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was gonna run for Nigeria, and I had the full plan. And then I would get hurt every other day, and it'd be
right. Nigeria is still waiting.
Yes, to this day they're still waiting for me to compete. But I digress. Anyways, I say all this to say I feel like I got injured. And then on top of that, I feel like I just was dealing with a lot of things unhealthily. And my brother was really the one who really sat me down. He used to play Michigan, so he had kind of already did that collegiate athlete pipeline. And so he was really big on reinforcing to me that who you are makes you a good athlete, and it's not the other way around. So remembering that your identity shouldn't be rooted in your sport, because that's so volatile. And that was literally me. If I was competing well, you couldn't tell me anything. If I'm not PRing, if I'm not having a good race, it's a bad week. So I think just figuring out those transferable skills and really peeling back, okay, what about track do I love? What about the heptathlon, which is a crazy event? What is the thrill of that? I love I don't know, I don't like sitting still. I love the thrill of being able to learn different skills and have them all come together. I love being challenged. I'm competitive. I like strategy. I like seeing things through. The heptathlon is it's talent, but it's also strategic thinking. It's mental endurance. So it's all of those things, which I feel I now translate into what I'm doing today. So I feel just realizing sports is a big part of who I am, and running and competing and actually physically competing is not the only capacity that I can serve in this space. And I'm actually limiting myself if I do that, and the ability that I have to reach people. So I started thinking of it more of that lens, and I was okay, God, it's very clear that running is not what I'm supposed to be doing sports wise, but help me understand how I'm supposed to transfer these skills into a career. And I was okay, I really love strategy. I was already doing strategic communications and marketing in college. So I kind of already had that social media marketing type of experience. And I was oh my gosh, why am I not doing this in the sports world? Duh. So I feel that was the first thing I really did, and started figuring out okay, what do athlete socials look like? What do my socials look like?
You said it's me.
First of all, let's audit myself, because we can't be a bad look there.
Hello.
Which is a big look. If you want to work in social media and I go to your social media and your brand's not branding, start with you first.
How can you help me?
Look, okay, but yeah. So let me stop rambling. But I feel long story short, it was essentially figuring out, okay, how can I combine those things that made me happy? Strategy, storytelling. I love I'm very visual. Like I love like things being like brought to life and like having a message being shown and like helping people be understood. Like that was always something for me. Like I hated feeling misunderstood. And I feel like when I was on the track, like you have to understand me because it's so critical. Like it's by the number. Like you can look and see where you line up with everyone else. Like there's no hiding and there's no like misunderstanding talent there. So how can I make an athlete feel like that when they leave the field, when they leave the court, etc.? It's like kind of my why. So yeah, from there I did an internship. I feel like God just started like dot connecting, and the more I started telling people like this is something that I want to be interested in, and like the more I was confirmed on what I was supposed to do, the better I was able to articulate it to other people, and they were able to use my name in rooms that I wasn't in. So exactly. So I got my first like social media like experience with Tamika Catchings, who is like a WNBA like all-star Indianapolis like amazing.
Came in hot.
Exactly. And like that, for that to be my first opportunity to work on someone's athlete socials is like crazy, but like it literally fell in my lap, and she was so helpful. She was like the sweetest person ever, still is to this day, with helping me understand like looking at an athlete as a business and how you build a personal brand and how you also build a business brand. Because ultimately I'm trying to help athletes figure out how they're going to create an identity that transcends beyond sports. So that also means it has to be a business that monetizes. So
right.
What's
next?
Exactly. So she was really big with that. And then I started working for the Pacers and the Fever. So I was able to, again, see it in a completely different lens. Like at the actual court arena, I learned like so much. I was a jack of all trades. Like I was really a sponge, because I feel like in those beginning years in the sports industry, like you know what you want to be, but like that's not necessarily going to be what you're doing. So like being in that like growth mindset and being like, okay, I'm in this space. God like gave me the opportunity to be in this space that not a lot of people can be in. How can I learn like everything that I need to learn here so I'm prepared for the next place I go? Which then led me to the NCAA, where I did a brand strategy postgraduate internship. And again, I think the more and more I like was in that space, the more and more I knew it was where I was supposed to be. So I was more confident in myself. I was more confident in what fulfilled me, and I was able to like share that better. And so I literally got my job that moved me to LA by someone else, like one of my, like, I wouldn't say bosses, but he worked in the same department as me. He was like, you literally remind me so much of this girl. Her name's Alexia. I need to connect you with her right now. And I connect with her. She was literally like the best person ever. Like she was like my big sister. Like, and so I like, that was just the relationship. I'm like, I feel like I'm learning so much from you. Like you were where I was. Like I'm thinking about maybe going to the West Coast, maybe not. And so what started off as just like a mentor thing, like quickly escalated to like, well, actually, I have an opening for a social media position if you want to interview. And I was like, okay, sure. But like, I'm not going to get the job. Like, this is Magic Johnson. We're talking about like, what? Like, but this is great practice. Like, I'm going to have to start interviewing soon.
Interview's a skill. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought I was going to be interviewed by her. And then she set up the camera. She was like, you're going to do great. And she left. And walked Mr. Johnson, where I was like, oh, hey.
I would have been giving it's Wizard Kelly.
It literally gave y'all. I didn't even know that the Proud family, like they based that off of him, but like it literally gave Wizard Kelly, because he walked in and he's so tall, so his head was not in the front, and then he sat down and he was like, hello.
No,
like,
the way my intrusive thoughts would have been like, it's Wizard Kelly.
No, I was like, girl, act like you've been here. So yeah,
that's a lesson.
Yes, very much so.
That'll preach.
Yeah, and then that brought me here. I think that really kickstarted a lot of things, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now.
I love that. So I feel like you touched on so many amazing gems. Honestly, we could low-key freestyle it, which we love. But I think something very important that you said that I want to highlight, and that's kind of the premise of Bid on You. You were getting more God confirmation and then self-confidence as a result. As you took those steps, the path became more clear. Instead of like, oh, I'm paralyzed, I hope one day I could do it. Like, sometimes it's just the doing in which you get the confidence to keep doing more. A. B. Closed mouths don't get fed. Also known as you have not because you ask not. Like opening up your mouth. And I even still need to work on that, like with the show, for example. But opening it up and saying, my goal with this is da-da-da, or I would love to do XYZ. You would be surprised the amount of people who will want to help you. And I think you have a very cool, unique story. Shout out Alexi, right?
Yes.
Because that's the one I met, right?
Yeah.
Love her down.
Yeah.
Great vibes. It's unfortunately, maybe on the entertainment side, maybe sports is different. It's rare to have
A dime a
fellow
dozen.
woman / black woman really look out for you. And I hate to spoil it. If you have that, you're so blessed. So many people have not had that. So shout out her, because I feel like we need more of that. And now we get to be those women for other people. And you touched on this. So just to kind of pivot for someone who's like, okay, I'm in school, or okay, I want to pivot, I'm already out in the workforce.
Yeah.
You talked about strategic comms and having a vision and really being able to like build a brand and a business. Are those some of the skills, or what skills do you think people need if they're like, okay, I want to manage social for maybe an athlete or maybe a brand or work in the NFL? What are some like top skills you would say they need to have?
Yeah, I would say for sure for social media, like I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, like I post all the time and
Yeah,
like, I'm
no.
on TikTok and Instagram. Like I can hear them like, no, like everything that I post is intentional. So I feel like I said, strategy is like a huge component of it. Like you need to be looking at being able to have the ability to look at things from the short term, but also the long term. So you have to see it in the like, okay, what trends are happening right now? Like what's relevant? How are they performing? What's the climate of their name? But also like, what do I want this post to say about my athlete in 4 months, in a year? Like, what am I trying to do with brand alignment? All of those things come together. So I feel like a big thing is one, like strategy, but then two, also being able to like correctly like audit and like understand like a person. So I feel like what comes with that is relationship management. Like I tell people all the time, I quite literally have to be like 4 people a day. And like if I was only myself, like they wouldn't like the post, they wouldn't get approved, they wouldn't go up. People would know that it's not them. So I feel like a big component of what I do is truthfully relationship management and like being able to like communicate with athletes, being able to find similarities, find differences, also just make them feel like normal people. Like I
Be
feel
a
like
normal
that's such a
person
big
yourself.
thing for them. Is just like at the end of the day, like some of y'all are the same age as me. Like I don't need to be like, hello, like
Yeah, maybe
like,
younger.
Yeah,
It's giving
like
little brother, some of y'all.
yeah. So I feel like being able to genuinely develop relationships is another big one. I would also say like I got my MBA, and I feel like I did that one because again, as a Black woman in this space, we're very few and far between, but we're increasing. But I also just didn't want anyone to be able to little dog me. So like just as much as I have my degree in strategic communications, I also have an MBA. So I know how this from a business perspective looks, which speaks a lot to the people surrounding the athletes, their finance team, their agent. Like how do I make friends with the stakeholders?
Yeah.
Is a huge skill. So I'm being able to understand the business behind social and how you can build a brand that monetizes and actually will directly correlate with whatever the athlete needs, whether that's audience growth, whether that's brand recognition, no one knows who they are, engagement, a rebrand. Like there's so many different ways that like one post could do like 5 different things based off of a caption, based off of text on screen. So it's very, very like intentional. And I would say the more that you become a discipline to the details, I think the better you'll be able to like execute properly. But yeah, I feel like those would be the big things. And then just like loving telling athletes stories is like a huge one. Like it's not social for me. Like it's brand, like I'm a brand strategist. Like I'm figuring out like who are you? And then how can I convey that? Like social is just the medium, but ultimately it's identity and brand strategy and brand recognition. So that being like your North Star, especially if you want to work directly with athletes, is like your ultimate goal should be like, I want them to feel so confident about who they are that they can talk about fishing and they're going to think that people care even though they're like a D lineman. Like they should have that much confidence based off how I'm helping them creatively articulate that they matter when they're not playing.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And I feel like people need that support because you are running into owners and the front office and all these different layers as an athlete where it literally is just about how you're performing
Being
on that field.
used, quite literally. Yeah.
It's modern day. I won't say it, but it doesn't look great. Sometimes it gives block where they auction. So I'll say pivoting. I think that's probably definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Working with talent is like, I care about you as a person.
Literally.
And then just storytelling. Like what you're saying is literally when you translate it out, what makes people consume? What is the story? What does it make me
Exactly.
feel?
Why
What
do
does it
I
make me
care?
think?
Like,
Why do I care?
why
What's
do
the
I
value
care?
I'm getting out of this? Second, third, fourth, and fifth is all the background. So data analytics, like she said earlier, it can't just be cutesy, aesthetic. Did this post perform or
Right.
not?
Like, what was the whole prerogative?
What
'Cause
happened
cool,
here?
the transitions were cute, but like,
Now what?
what was the purpose of the post? Was the purpose accomplished? When you go talk to their agent or their stakeholder, they do not care that it was pretty. Like,
At all.
they're like, how many followers did this person bring in? How can I pitch this to a brand to get them more money? Like, those are the questions that you need to be being able to answer when you're creating a post. The trend is just a plus.
Exactly. And I feel like, do you feel like, rather, I'm thinking this is sort of like how you build credibility in this space, but it makes me wonder if that's been a way that you've been able to sort of like build not only your confidence, but people's confidence in you. It's like, hey, I understand that the metrics matter, the metrics mean money. And this is more than just like, I know it's trending and I know it's cute, which is half of it because it needs to be timely and relevant, but also it needs to translate
Yes.
to
Like,
the stakeholders. Like you
I
said.
tell everyone, like, especially being in social media and like working with like high profile like people that are making a lot of money, I'm always over preparing in my meetings. Like, I have a deck prepared, like I have data to support every decision because again, you're speaking to, like I said, like CMOs, like especially like without when I was working with Magic, like it was like the president, the vice president, Mr. J, and me. Like,
And you're like, I'm
and
just
mind
a
you,
girl.
Mr. J's like, just keep in mind, I like built my whole business without using social media. So like, you need to speak to me in a business lens because
Right.
I
What are
don't
you
care
talking
about
about?
social.
Yeah.
So like quite literally,
Literally,
like,
what are you talking
yeah.
about?
So I feel like a big thing for me is being able to like lead. I lead with that, like, because honestly, that's like what everyone cares about the most. That's the common thing that's going to be like, okay, here's the reasoning. Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you why this makes sense, and then I'm going to show you like why I'm going to do it. Like, that's the icing on the cake. But like, again, like the whole goal is to like essentially make them money and do that in a way that's authentic, that it can be transferable and like tangible post career. Well, really career, because statistically, most of the people who are professional athletes won't be a professional athlete long enough for it to be considered a career.
Wow.
So if you think about it in that way, like you're going to have so much more time not playing than you are playing. So I'm building your brand for when you're not playing. We're just utilizing your notoriety or your relevance while you're playing to bring that audience to you.
That's so good. I feel like there's so many gems in this that like we're answering some of the things I wanted to talk about as we talk, which I knew would happen. So I
Yeah.
love that for us. I think also something that you said that struck me and something I'm working on as I transition, which I encourage you. And I'm like, you're a brand strategist. You do, you know what I mean? I build you up. We got to build ourselves a bit on you. But explaining the why.
Yeah.
Like, especially when something's a trend and we know it makes sense, especially as Black women, having your finger on the pulse of culture. But like, what does that mean in data? What does this mean in a slideshow? What difference is this going to make for the overall brand? And I feel like that's something y'all can take for just general career advice, is that's what really changes you from like an operator to a strategic leader and visionary, is like, here is the why we're doing this, not
Exactly.
just the what.
Because now I can trust you to do things that are even beyond social. Like, you get involved in more things because you're teaching them that social media is not the medium. Like, yes, you could say I'm a social media expert, but I also am a brand strategist. So I can also consult in how things that don't have nothing to do with social media can be conveyed, or social media can be used to amplify them. So I think it helps expand how many conversations I'm able to be in. I think when I make friends with those stakeholders, they're like, okay, well, like, this is happening. That's a really big deal for X, Y, and Z. That now I know what's happening. So I'm like, oh, like, actually, that would be really cool if we did a campaign around this. But if you don't build that trust with them where they're like, we know that you're thinking beyond posting a dance, I'm not bringing you in a conversation about
Yeah, this is
big
above
money.
your pay grade.
Yeah. So
literally.
I think that's like a really big, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Building the trust, the credibility, knowing your stuff. I feel like you obviously really took everything in. They always say be a sponge, but like you have the experience side and the education side to back it up. Unfortunately, as we know, we have to work twice as hard for half as much. So it's like, I'm aligned. You're not going to be able to say I don't have the education, and you're not going to be able to say I don't have the experience. So really, what's left? Not getting it. And I think that's something that I would want to pivot also to give some practical guidance. We're dancing around this, but especially in a male-dominated space, how can someone, and you were in Indiana, so obviously like it was kind of like a big market but small market and God's will. But what could someone do? Say that they're like in a small town somewhere watching this and they want to break into sports. Maybe they want to do the brand side. Maybe they want to do partnerships, social. How can they start to break in, especially when it's a very male dominated space, and build those connections?
Yeah, I feel like this is literally the most commonly asked question when I
Yeah.
have people talk to me. And I say, like, as we know, like, social media is like ever evolving. I feel like sports, women's sports, like, it's at a peak right now. So, like, the job market in the sports world is like highly saturated and very competitive. So, even though you may not have that job, like, I was blessed to be able to do the things that I was doing at organizations, but I also could have been doing that same thing at home. Like,
Come on.
every
say
single
that.
person has
Say
the
that.
ability to build their proof of work
Right.
at their house. Like, you may not have the ability to talk directly to an athlete, but you can look at their press conferences, you can look at how they're playing, you can look at their socials, you can look at their team socials, and you can literally do your own social audit. Like, this is how I would build their brand. Here's examples of how I would literally make their posts. A lot of the posts that I do for my athletes, they're not sending me like front facing content. I'm grabbing highlights, I'm grabbing press conferences
Get creative.
that I'm putting together. So like that's the same thing you're gonna be doing in the job. And I think it's more of a flex if you approach an interview and you're like, here's all of my portfolio. Like, I didn't have the ability to do this, but I still found a way. Like, so much of social media is like making something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think the quicker you're developing that skill and the quicker you're flexing your muscles, you're figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, like what's your social style, what's your brand voice. Like, I work with 3 other client leads. We all have very different ways that we work. So like, what's your unique lens? How are you bringing that into the sports industry? That's how you build your confidence of like, this is what I'm bringing, not like, I want you to give me this. Like, I'm bringing this to this organization and I have proof of work to support it before I was even given the opportunity. So I'm proactive
So
and I'm
good.
prepared, which again, when you have to be twice as good, like,
You don't have a
how are
choice.
you going to tell me I'm not prepared if I already have it's
Oh,
right
I'm
here?
so glad you mentioned
Like,
that. In an
yeah.
interview, I
Oh,
love to be like, oh, here's exactly what I thought we
Exactly.
could do to approach it.
This
Would love
is what
your
the
feedback.
responsibilities are. Oh, that's really cool because I did X, Y, and Z at home last week.
Funny. And
10
don't even
times.
say at home last week. Be like, actually just started brainstorming on it. And
Exactly.
if we have a few minutes left, I'd love to show you some of what I started working on in my
Exactly.
portfolio.
Yeah.
Boom.
Exactly.
And then you have a visual leave behind. So even if they don't use it, sometimes this is a risk that people will ask me, like I've interviewed with very big companies. And sometimes like, oh, you might see that creator you mentioned or that ad that you kind of dreamed up yourself. All of a sudden they're running it and you're not working there. That's a possibility. So we want to give a disclaimer.
Yeah,
But at the
don't give
same-
all of the sauce.
Don't
but
give all of the sauce, but give enough to let them know, like, oh, I'm saucy.
this is that. Exactly. That's your saucy.
I love
Like,
that.
I feel like that's a big thing I tell everyone because, like, through repetition, like, you're only going to get better. Like, a post that I made today, I would look at posts that I made last year and I'm like, baby girl. Like,
What were you doing?
the,
And I think
the
they're great.
text, the type, but like,
Yeah.
so it literally is like learning as you go. So I feel like that would be a huge thing. And also just literally talking to people, like,
Can't stress that enough.
like, there's so much that comes from, and like that, I wanted to come back to like what you said with not being afraid of speaking up for yourself. Like, one of my mentors like once told me, like, some of the most successful people here know the most because they're not afraid to ask. They're not afraid to put themselves in rooms, put themselves in at tables where they're not the smartest person. So it's okay to not be the expert in the room. You're actually limiting yourself if you're the expert in the room, because then you're not going to take away anything else from anyone else. So I think like getting in that habit of being a learner, like even now, like people would consider me a social media expert. I'm still a learner. I'm still asking people like, hey, how did you do X, Y, and Z? Because like that's how you stay ready, is by forever evolving. And then people see your genuine desire to be better. People see your genuine desire to be the best that you can be, not only for yourself, but also for like future opportunities. And that's how your name gets put in other rooms. It's not just, hey, I really want to do social media. So like if you have any jobs, like
Yeah.
let me know. I know nothing about you. Like
I can't help you through a
I
LinkedIn
know
message.
nothing about you. And I literally just
I
made a
wish I
post about
could.
this. I'm like, you have to understand, when I bring you to somebody else, you are now an extension of my reputation, because how you perform in that job is directly correlated to my reference. So like if you go there
Come on,
and you're
Nicole.
just there to be around the athletes
And dilly-dally.
and dilly-dally, they're going to be like, Nicole's judgment is really flawed.
Is she a dilly-dallyer?
So now I don't even know if I should pitch her to X, Y, and Z. Like, this is all a linking tree, which is why, like, Alexia, I was like, girl, I'll never play because you flew me, like, you got me to LA. Like, this is the first ever job that you've ever had in this space like this. Like, if it looks bad on me, but it also looks bad on you. So I think, like, having that mindset when you're talking to mentors and you're talking to people, like, I want to be a good reflection of you. And then I would want the other person or the person below me or the person that I'm going to bring into the space to do the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning from you, child.
Oh, my
This is so
goodness.
good. No, I'm so serious because I feel like it can get very I, because we do have to fight tooth and nail so much, and you do have to learn to be your biggest advocate, and you do have to learn to bring yourself up in the room because, you know, just in case no one else does or just as a reminder. And I feel like it can be difficult to balance being your number one advocate, which you should be.
Always.
If anybody is advocating for you, should be you.
Always.
But also, I want you to look good, you know, and translating the value that someone will have from helping you. Because some people do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, we have to be able to talk. I think our biggest thing through line here is like value add. What is it? And finding that. And I think just to wind us down, it's fitting because, you know, bids on our show are questions, letters, etc. that the people can send in. And a girl actually asked, sort of, she's saying she wants to pivot her career. And she's kind of worked in the space more on like the partnership side, ad side, but wants to go into more like the brand strategist of it all.
Yeah.
And so she said she's having trouble sort of figuring out like the why of it all. Like, why hire me? Why would I be good to build this athlete social? Why would I be good to build the brand?
Oh, she's like a diamond. Like, I feel like I tell people all the time, like, don't be afraid to have an unconventional route to a role because you're bringing a unique lens to the table that a lot of other people won't have. For example, like my unique lens that I use a lot is like I'm an athlete myself. So like my other coworkers were not collegiate athletes. So like when it comes to that, like I can sit there and be like, put myself in their shoes. Would I actually wanted to do that? I know people that have come from psychology backgrounds and it's like, okay, I don't really know how I like relate this to social. Social media is quite literally the psychology of minds and like
Studying
how
how
you
people
can
interact.
get people to support what you're doing. So
Right.
like, don't be afraid to have a unique route to what you want to do because you're only showing more of a value. And that circles back to what I said before. Like, what are you bringing to the space? Like, here's how I was working in ads and sales. Like, again, I spoke so much about being able to speak to social media as a monetization factor and like looking at the athletes as a business. Like, you have an upper hand of understanding the numbers, what goes into that. Like, you're on the other side of the ad. Like, I'm on this side and you're on this side. So how can you combine both of these to make me or to make the social media strategist more prepared for when they're speaking to the other side? So I just feel like being able to like, I think that's something that I really have just like clung on to. And that's been something like since I stopped running and really like my last year of running, it's like, okay, what makes me different and why am I running away from that? Like my whole childhood, I was a little Miss Chameleon. I mean, I went to a PWI, so like my whole life. So I think I was taught to assimilate and I was taught to like be a chameleon, be a sponge. But now I'm learning like, you're supposed to learn and like figure out ways how to support who you are. Like, you're not supposed to learn to become someone else. Like, that person was already that person. And the more I leaned on like, okay, God like literally crafted me and like my brain, as crazy as it may be on some days, intentionally to do something that someone else can't do. So if I adopt someone else's personality, I'm not fulfilling my purpose. I'm not showing that element of God that like I was supposed to. Like, I'm not doing my self-service or God or anyone else who comes into contact with me.
Right.
So really leaning in on that and being like, okay, like this is unconventional, but this is why it's going to make sense. And I'm speaking confidence into myself as I'm saying that. So they have confidence in me. Like if you speak and you're like, well,
Ben,
I know that I didn't really have social media experience, but then they're going to be like,
Trust
girl,
me.
you're not ready. But you're like, oh,
Exactly.
hey, I was just in
Exactly.
this space for 3 years, which maybe seems unconventional, but walk with me. This is how it correlates
literally.
to what you're doing. They're like, oh, like you're thinking
can see the
critically.
vision.
Right.
Exactly.
So like, even if you're scared or even if you're like, oh, this doesn't make sense, like never present that. Like
At all.
Never present that.
And I feel like
that's not for them to know. That's for you to know.
for you to know and for you to improve over
Right.
time. And we thank you so much for coming. We can't wait to hear about how your panel goes this weekend. And thank you guys for watching. Happy Women's Month. Can't wait to see y'all break into sports and bid on you.